Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran that surely in the Messenger of Allah you have a beautiful life. You have a beautiful example. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best model for us in our lives. Not in the one matter of our life, but all the matters of our life. He was a prophet of Allah. He was a messenger of Allah, the Rasulullah. He was a statesman, a ruler, a sultan or a khalifa on earth. He was a businessman. He was a good child when he was a child, and he was a good young man, and he was a good husband, and he was a good son, and he was a good brother to his companions, and he was a good neighbor. He was a good colleague. He was a good companion. Whatever field of the life we can pass through, he can give the perfect example of it. Yesterday we were discussing about a question made by one of us, and he asked to be different people in the question, and he was not getting the right answer. Then when he asked me the question, who was the best general in the history of the human being? Or who was the best military commander in the human being history? And he was not getting answer from others. But when he asked me, I said the best general in the history of a human being, or the best military commander in the human being history, is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the best commander in the battlefield. He was the best army general. No one can compare his military techniques in his time with the shortest means. In perfect way, he made the waging a war for the justice. And not just he make the wars and he won the wars, but he showed the great ethics during the wars, great ethics. What we talk about the Geneva Convention, more or less 100 years ago, maybe less than 100 years ago, the Geneva Convention, that talks about the prisoners of wars and about the war and about the battles. The better than the Geneva Convention, Prophet Muhammad made a charter for the army during the war. He made very clear, during the battlefield, he gave the advices and commands to his soldiers. No child should be killed. No woman should be killed. No old man should be killed. No priest or any religious leader should not be killed. No person who's a non-combatant is not allowed to kill. And during the war, if the people you are fighting with, if they put down their weapons, you are not allowed to kill. That is the guidelines of the Prophet Muhammad. He restricted not to burn the trees, not to cut the trees, not to destroy the buildings, not to destroy the place of worship, either if it is Christian or Jews or any other religion. Not allowed to demolish the places of worship during the battle, during the war. You have a big number of, even for a mutation, the dead body should not be mutated, should not be cut the limbs or body parts. He gives the great war ethics. We can have a different kind of incidents happen, that during the battlefield, no one can be more warrior than him. No one can be more brave than him. Like the writers or the scholars, even the non-Muslims, Christians or Hindus or Jewish scholars, they say the great words about him. Like George Bernard Shaw. He said that if the Prophet Muhammad will be given the rulership of the world, then he can solve all the problems of the humanity. Like Gandhi, or like Thomas Carlyle, or the great scholar, or the Napoleon Bonaparte, a warrior also. You can go and check all their comments about the life of Prophet Muhammad in all aspects. He was a most successful statesman. The one of the writer, the Michael Hart, from United States of America. He gathered the 100 most influential human beings. And even though he was a Christian, he did not put the Jesus Christ on number one. But he put the number one Prophet Muhammad SAW, because he was successful in all aspects of the life. He said the Prophet Jesus cannot be entitled to be number one because he was not a husband, he was not a father. And he was not a statesman. Prophet Jesus was not a statesman. He was not a ruler. But the Prophet ﷺ, spiritually or politically, in terms of family, in terms of interaction with the human beings, he did all examples in his life. And the best way. And he was the best example of a good character. Prior to becoming a prophet of Allah, he was 40 years, lived in Makkah. He was not announcing his prophethood yet, but he was very well known in Makkah as the most trustworthy and the most truthful man. S.A.W. Amin. The most truthful person in the Makkah, actually whole world. And the most trustworthy Al-Amin. The most trustworthy in Makkah, but actually all around the world. And he has attitude of fulfilling his promise. He has attitude to be kind and generous. What we teach our children: truthfulness, honesty, honor your promise, honor your word, be kind, be generous, be charitable, be respectful, be obedient, be submissive. And these all examples we can get in the life of the Prophet Muhammad in the best way. No one can give us a better example in all the matters of our life, since childhood until we left this world. He was an orphan child, and he can show that how he was thankful to Allah, and how he was learning the best manners, even though he was an orphan child. When he born, his father died before he born, Abdullah. And when he was 6 years old, his mother died. And he was under the custody of his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. And then later, Abdul Muttalib, his grandfather, died. Then he was in the custody of his uncle, Abu Talib. And in this young age, he started to take care of the sheep of his uncle. He became a shepherd in very young age. And he was kind, and he was very helpful to the people, to the widows, to the orphans, and to everyone. He tried his best to be the best person. So while he was still growing up, he became a shepherd. And when he grew a good age, being a man now, a young man, and he requested his uncle that he wanted to go to a trading. The trading is not like just like today that you import with the airplane or you import with the ship. But the trading on that time is very dangerous. You have to bring that goods in the caravan, in the camels, in the horses, by walking. And you need to travel it for a month. From Mecca, he went to the Sham in Damascus. He wanted to bring the goods there from Mecca. Then when he come back, he will buy another goods from the Sham and bring back to Mecca. And he started the trading. And one day when he was going with his uncle Abu Talib for the trading to Damascus, then when he stopped on the way, when he was on the way, there is a monk there. There is a monk there. And he was a good monk. He was a religious. He was believing in one God. He was not idol worshipper. But he followed Prophet Jesus. And he believes in only one God, the true God. And he knew about the last prophet. He knew about the last prophet, that what he looks alike, because he got it from the previous books. I forgot his name. Bureha. No. I'll be just recalling it. So this monk, when the Prophet Muhammad was passing with the caravan, with his uncle and other people together with the caravan, then the monk saw some signs. And one of the signs that the shadow, the cloud, was going together with the caravan. Wherever the caravan goes, the clouds going together. And when he saw the description in the previous books, in Torah and in Injil, and then he recognized that it is the last prophet. And he was only less than 25 years old. He was not yet given the prophethood yet. So the Rahab, the monk, he ran after, he went to Abu Talib, and he said, I want you to join you for my lunch with me, a dinner with, meal with me. And Abu Talib accepted because they were traveling in a desert and somebody invited them for the party. So he accepted it. So when he go to the party, they left Prophet Muhammad with the camels and with the goods in caravan. Then he asked, where is the young man? The monk asked, the Prophet said he is there. No, you should bring him. He's a special guest. So when they brought him, and the monk recognized, and he told to the Abu Talib, this boy you cannot bring to Damascus, because there he might be assassinated by the Jews. You have to bring him back because he is going to be the last prophet. So there one time he was not able to go, but he did several trips to Damascus to bring the goods and bring back the goods to Makkah. Then when he was 25 years of age, before that, the Khadija, the one of the businesswomen in Makkah, who was a very rich woman, and she knew about the Prophet Muhammad, that he is a good man, he's honest, and he make a good trading. And she used to invest money with other traders. Then finally she decided to invest with Prophet Muhammad, and then when he brought her goods, and he brought back, he made a very high profit. So Khadija was very amazed, and she was very admired that this person is very truthful person. That he is honest, he gives all the profit honestly. Not before that she was able to get this kind of profit, but this is the first time she get the highest level of profit through Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in that business investment, which is allowed in Islam, but it's on the profit and loss sharing. If you invest someone, if there is loss, you should bear the loss. It's not a fixed profit. If it's fixed profit, it's haram. It is interest or riba. So she was very admired with the attitude of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and she heard lots about him. Then finally she was a widow woman. Husband was died long ago, and she sent a proposal to Prophet Muhammad through her cousin that she want to marry him. But Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did not accept the proposal right away. But rather he told to the cousin of Khadija that I'm going to have a consultation with my uncle, because he's the guardian. He's like a father. Then I'll go into consultation with uncle, and if uncle agrees, then he can decide. So when he talked to Abu Talib, his uncle, and his uncle said, yes, go ahead. She's a very noble woman. She's a very good woman. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was 25 years old, and the Khadija was 40 years old, and that was his first marriage. And he got the 4 daughters from Khadija, the Fatima, Kulthum, Ruqayya, Zainab, the 4 daughters. And he got the sons like Qasim and other son, but they were died in young age. And he got another son from Maria, Kiptia, Ibrahim, then he was also died in young age. So his daughters only survived and they got older. So when he was living with Khadija, and he was still acting very nicely, if there are some movement in Makkah to make the charity works or stopping people from injustice or the work of justice or any other good act, he always joined them. He don't speak bad words. He don't sit down with the bad companies in the bad gatherings, but he always do all the good things. Finally, when he was 40, and he started to feel depressed, and he started to feel anxiety, he feel uncomfortable, so he started to go to cave in Makkah, which called Ghar Hira. And he brings some dates and water and some food, and he stayed there for several days and several nights. And he just meditate, and he pray to Allah directly, and he ask Allah to guide him. And every time he go, and then after that he go back to live with his wife, with his family, with his children, and then he go back again to Ghar in the cave to meditate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then finally, the one day, he saw a man. Because this was not a man, but it was an angel. He saw a man, And that man approached him in the cave, and it was a night, and it was a night of Al-Qadr, Laylatul Qadr. It was Ramadan. And the angel said to Prophet Muhammad, Iqra, read. Because Iqra means read, recite, proclaim. And the Prophet Muhammad answered, Ma ana bi qari, I don't know how to read. And that man, he squeezed him very hardly. Prophet doesn't know there's the angel Jibreel, but he come in a human shape. And then he squeezed him, that the Prophet feel the pain in his chest. And why is he squeezing? Because angel is a light, so he's transferring the light to his heart. So he squeezed him, and the angel said again, Iqra, read. And the Prophet replied, Ma ana bi qari, because he never got to learn, read and write, because he was orphan, he was not able to get education. But Allah still make him the most educated through his wahi, through his revelation. So angel squeezed him again, and he feel very pain. Then he released him, and he said, Iqra, read, recite. And the Prophet again said, Ma ana bi qari, I don't know how to read. And then he squeezed him the third time, and it was very, very painful. He feel his chest, his ribs and his chest is very painful. And now Prophet Muhammad realized that that person want him to read, to just follow him. So when after the third squeeze, then he said, Iqra. The Prophet said, Iqra, read. And then he said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created. Read in the name of your Lord who created. Khalaq al-insana min alaq. He created man from the alaq. And it's a beautiful word, alaq. According to the Professor Keith Moore, one of the great doctor of anatomy, he said the alaqa has a three meaning, and modern science and perfectly, according to Quran, is a perfect word used by the Quran. Alaqa means is something muallaq. Muallaq means hanging or suspended. Hanging in the wall of the uterus. The initial stage of embryo is hung on the wall of the uterus. So perfectly alaq. And alaqa means a substance look like a leech. A worm, a leech, and the initial embryo stages look like a leech. And not just look like a leech, it's act like a leech, because that embryo has to suck the blood from the wall of the uterus or the womb of the mother. And the leech does the same. When it goes to your skin, suck the blood. And the third meaning of alaqa is a substance look like a blood clot. And the initial stage of embryo is also look like a blood clot. So perfectly, word mentioned in the initial revelation of the Quran, that Allah created man from the alaq, which is the initial stage of the embryo. And the angels goes on, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ alaq, اقرأ وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ. Read, and your Lord is most generous. Read, and your Lord is the most generous. اقرأ, and read in your خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ alaq, اقرأ وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ. Read, and your Lord is most generous. الَّذِي عَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ. Who teach the man with a pen. How he teach us? Just not reading, but through writing. Because if you are only keep on telling reading and reading, people are not writing, they cannot learn. So we should recommend, even during the lectures, we should give the ball pens and pencil. The pencil and the writing pad. That you write it down what I'm telling you. Because if you don't write down, the man is forgetful. One of the instinct of the man is forgetful creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We always forget. So reading must be accompanied by writing. So Allah said, he who teaches a man with a pen. Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. And he teach man which he knew not. All the creation of Allah, when Allah created them, they know have some knowledge. The goat or the chicken or the bird, when they come out, they immediately fly. The bird fly immediately. After some time, learn how to fly. The goat comes out from the womb of the mother, the goat is walking in immediately. How to walk, no already. The cow, when born the child is walking in a while. But the human child doesn't know anything. Because Allah said, he knew not. Allah said, Allah created man, he knew nothing. So Allah bring us in this world without knowledge, but he has a one knowledge in the heart, which is La ilaha illallah, there is no God except Allah. It's already implanted in our hearts. So Allah said, "Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam." So now the Prophet Muhammad is scared. Because he thought that some man come and he was terrorizing him. He was very, very scared. He ran away to his home and he lie down on his bed or his sleeping place. And he started to call his wife Khadija and he started to call, "Zammiluni, Zammiluni, cover me with a blanket." And he's shaking with a fear. And he's saying to his wife, "Dathiruni, Dathiruni, cover me with the blanket." And Allah called him, "Ya ayyuhal muzammil," oh, who is wrapped up in a blanket, "Ya ayyuhal muddassir." So these are the two names of Prophet Muhammad Allah mentioned in the Quran. So the Khadija was covered him. And he was very worried, but she was a great wife. She said, "No, Allah will not destroy you." Because he thought maybe he might get some madness or he might be affected with a jinn. He get possessed. No. The Khadija said, "No, you are a good man. You help people. You are generous. You are kind. Allah will not destroy you." And then she had an uncle called Warqa bin Nawfal, and he had a knowledge of the previous books like Torah, Injil, Zabur. And she sent Ali, because Ali was like the son of Prophet Muhammad, his cousin, but he was grown up with the Prophet Muhammad. And then he ran away. Then he called the Warqa bin Nawfal to explain the situation, the uncle of Khadija, and he has a knowledge of the previous books. And then he is the first person to believe in Prophet Muhammad. He said, he is the last prophet. He is the last prophet. And he soon will be kicked out from Makkah. People will kick him out from here. And if I will be with him, I will support him. If I will be with him that time, I will support him. He is a blind man and he accepted as a prophet to Prophet Muhammad, but he was not able to live, but he died before the persecution was started to Prophet Muhammad and his followers. And he was giving the pledge that if ever there will be persecution, he will support Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was the first person to believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Warqa bin Nawfal, the uncle of Khadija, his wife. And then he started to make da'wah, to preaching. And the first person who believed in him after this was Khadija, his wife. She made shahada, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah." I bear witness there is no God except you. And I bear witness the Prophet Muhammad, you are the messenger. You Muhammad, you are the messenger of Allah. And his best friend Abu Bakr Siddiq, he made shahada. And his cousin Ali, who was like a son, he took shahada. And his adopted son, Zayd bin Harith, he took shahada also. And immediately, Abu Bakr Siddiq, his friend, he started to make dawah. Then he bring another 6 people in next day. And among the 6 was Usman radhiyallahu anhu. And the family of the Abu Bakr Siddiq, like his daughter Aisha, she was maybe 4 to 6 years old that time. She took shahada also. She was also become the Prophet's wife after 12 years. So she should be like 18, 19 years old on that time. So she took shahada also. And her sister took shahada. The wife of Abu Bakr Siddiq took shahada. And the whole family was making shahada. And many other people who started to make shahada. Then the Prophet Muhammad, he was started to persecuted by Makkah people. Because they were saying that he's dividing the people, he's making people away from the religion of the forefathers, etc. And he wants to believe in one God, rather they have 360 gods with idols put in the Kaaba. So when they started to kill and prosecute and execute and torture to the people, then those who were weak without the tribe support, the Prophet Muhammad led them to migrate it to Habsha. The Habsha today is Ethiopia. So when they went to Habsha, somebody followed them to get back to them, but the king, the Najashi, he refused and he gave them protection. And then later also Najashi, the king in Ethiopia, the Christian king, he became Muslim also. And the Prophet Muhammad make his ghaib janazah also, the janazah prayer, the funeral prayer. And then Prophet Muhammad, he went to Taif, the mountain place like Baguio, and then he was tortured there by the stones and people did not believe. And the angel came and offered that if you want that, we can destroy this city of Taif. But he said, no, if they will not believe, their generation will believe. And then later also Taif became Muslim whole. And then he sent the emissary to Medina, and the people of Medina wanted to accept Islam, and they wanted Prophet Muhammad to migrate to Medina. And Medina is the place of his mother from Medina, his father Abdullah from Makkah. So he started to migrate to Medina, but he has one responsibility in Makkah, that he has valuables, the gold, the silver, the money of the people of Makkah in his custody. Because he's Amin. He keep the amana. So even though he know that tomorrow I'll be assassinated because Abu Jahl and his other leaders, because Abu Talib was died already, so they were decided to assassinate him. It was after the 3 years of sanction. They were living in a valley without food and water, and they were survived for these 3 years with anything they have, leaves or the skin of the animal or whatever they can available. They survived for 3 years, but they did not give up their iman. And after, during that, Abu Talib was died, and he has no protection from the tribal leader, and then his wife died, and then he married to Aisha in Sauda, but Aisha was not started to live with him, and then after the hijrah, she started to live with him, and then when he migrated, he gave the authority to Ali that tomorrow morning you have to give all the amana to the people in Makkah, the money, the valuables, the gold, the silver, you return to all the people, then you follow us to Medina. So that's an example of honesty. The trustworthy person, that even though the people wanted to kill him, but he worried about their valuables. And he keep all this to Ali, the son of Abu Talib, who was the tribal leader. And then he migrated, and the people welcomed him in Medina, and they started to build the first mosque. And then, inshallah, we'll continue in a while in the next khutbah.
Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment.